We're back again with another episode of Pursue Podcast. With me, as always, Kim Mokron.
Hello.
I'm assuming you're fired up and ready for this new episode?
With Felix Smith Halle in studio, I'm extremely fired up.
That's great to hear. Because our guest today is a man who has experienced best of two worlds. Felix Smith Halle played men's soccer and started his college career for Florida Atlantic University in sunny Florida and finished his degree at Hofstra University in New York in May 2019. Welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you here.
Great to be here.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
You're back now, and it was a good time to get you on the show because I've been looking at some old highlights and in like our top 5 list. Your goal in your freshman year for Florida Atlantic was there. We'll certainly talk about that, but it's good to have you here, and we want to hear about your journey because that was also with some twists and turns as it typically is in processes like this.
Yeah, it's been a great journey overall. I've experienced a lot of things that has really affected me personally and just been a part of my life. And I will always continue to be looking back at it as a great period, and also some tough periods where you really learn from it, and
you have to dig deep to because you're far away from home and new situations, but also that's how you grow as a person.
Exactly. That's one of the reasons I would recommend people to just take the chance and do it. Yeah.
Because you just recently graduated.
Yeah.
And your journey started. You ended up in Florida, and then you moved on to New York. 'Cause you kind of been doing what a lot of students that contact us, they say, when we ask them where do you want to go, and they say, well, either New York area or Florida, and you've done both of those.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced two sides of the world that are extremely exciting. There's a lot of different cultures, and you can really it's a lot to do basically. So there's not only the soccer part or the athlete part, it's more to it, which is very exciting. Yeah,
we'll get into that later on in the episode, but we'll start at the beginning and where the motivation was for you to actually push through with going to the US to study and play soccer. Well, how did that come about?
I was looking into doing something new. I'm very outspoken, so I enjoy meeting new cultures, new people, and that was one of the reasons I really had to get out of Oslo. I needed to do something new, and also I felt like I didn't really get anywhere here in Norway with my soccer. I wanted to continue playing soccer, and I really, really enjoyed it and had a big passion for it. But for me, it was very hard to get to the next level. I was playing second division with Ullern, which is a club in Oslo here in Norway. And I didn't really have a starting position or anything. And then the team got relegated. And then I realized that I might be better off studying and still continue playing soccer, because I realized that my chances of getting into the pro world with soccer wouldn't necessarily decrease by doing that. So
was that your big goal? I remember speaking to you about it, but obviously the pro ambition was always there and was quite prominent when we started working together, and to find a place where that could be possible to do that.
Exactly. That was one of the big motivations for it. As the years have went by, my aim now is not necessarily to become a elite Eliteserien player or become a pro football player, but I still enjoy it, and that's why I still play soccer here in Norway. So it's been a big part of my life, and that's why I really wanted to continue playing it. Yeah,
because you had some options on where you wanted to go. That's typically how the process is, that we go out and find options for you with coaches wanting to recruit you, and and obviously we have to assist you. It's your choice completely to land on where you want to go, but we are presenting the options and figuring out with you what is the best fit. And in the end, the choice was Florida Atlantic. Why did you make that decision?
I made that decision because they were a team in a very good conference with great potential. And the coach, he was very enthusiastic, and he wanted to bring me in, and I knew I would get like a key role in the team, and that was one of the main factors I wanted to go exactly there. And also I thought that the temperature and the school was very, very interesting too. It's a big public school with over 30,000 students. So I was really able to experience the college life fully. Yeah.
Because you mentioned conference, and obviously in Division 1, which Florida Atlantic is part of, there is over 200 teams across the whole nation, and obviously the US is a big country, and they're splitting it up into different conferences where it's somewhat regional, but the Conference USA where Florida Atlantic play, that's also, it will require quite a bit of travel against the schools when you have away games.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the most exciting parts of it, because I was able to. We basically flew to every game. So we went to, for example, Kentucky, where they have a very good college culture, and I was able to see like different parts of America, and there's definitely huge differences in both the student life and the cultural life in Kentucky and Florida, for example. And then I also went to New Mexico, which is almost on the West Coast. So, and some of the crowds there are insane, because the better crowds aren't necessarily on the cooler places. They might be on the more, where there are like a bigger passion for sports.
Yeah.
And more rural areas where they don't really have any big sports team other than the college team that they support. Yeah.
And it's fun to, obviously you step out and you start games, and it's completely different from what you're used to from your team back home in Europe.
Yeah.
It's a whole new ball game, really, when it comes to the experience.
Yeah.
And I guess you felt the same.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot higher tempo. Sometimes the tempo might feel a little bit too high for the level of the players, but then again, you learn to adapt, and I definitely feel like I've improved some of the skills I didn't necessarily have from playing in Norway, where it is more like low tempo, more focus on the technical abilities, and
a bit more tactical, maybe?
It's a bit more tactical, because in America you don't really have that much time to implement a very a true identity. So
because preseason is quite short.
Yeah.
You get there and for the fall semester, and right away you're thrown in with if you're new with the brand new team, and you have 2-3 weeks to get cohesion and build the team and understand each other, and then you start playing officially. Yeah. It's quite quick.
It's very quick, so you have to adapt quickly, and it's a major benefit not pulling any muscles or getting any injuries in the beginning, because then you might fall off a little bit. But if you can just get along with it, try to learn as much as you're able to learn, and you get into that starting lineup, it will be easier for you to catch up on it, because you play so many games, and by the end, it's the games that you really learn how to adapt.
And I want to speak to you about one very special game I know for you, and Truls and I have been rewatching this goal that you scored. It's one of the first games you played in the season. You're playing against University of South Carolina, which is Joey, your head coach. That's his former. He used to coach for them, so it was also a very special game for him. I know him very well, and we've spoken about that. So it was a special feeling for him to come back, and you played a main part in that game. Walk us through how that was.
It was probably the top moment in college soccer for me. We were really struggling in that game, so we felt that we kind of had to have those take care of those special moments for us to be able to win that game, and we truly did. So basically, the ball was just played in behind, and I picked up one of the second balls, and then it bounced one or two times, and then I hit it on half volley, and it just flew in the net, which that feeling was just so great.
Yeah.
I wasn't really used to playing in front of that many people too, so just running around on the pitch and celebrate, it was such a great feeling.
Because it was 0-0 and you get that chance, and I mean it's a chance, but you make the most of it. And you say it hit the back of the net, it hit the top corner. It was a beautiful strike, like a ESPN top 10 place. I would you would see goals like that, posted, and so you go up 1-0. Then they equalize towards the end of the game, and then you go to overtime. Of course, they need a winner in the US, and after 90, you play 2 times 10 minutes. And I believe in the overtime, there was another great goal scored by you guys.
That goal was fantastic.
Your fellow Norwegian, Ferdy, who was playing with you at the same time, he obviously made a great assist, and one of your other teammates just buried it with an unbelievable volley, I think. And 2-1 victory in front of the 1,700 home fans. It was a good flight back home then, I guess.
That flight was great. But during that period, we were actually in South Carolina. We had to be in South Carolina because there was what is it called again? Irma, the
Hurricane?
The hurricane, sorry. Yeah, the Hurricane Irma. So we had to stay in South Carolina for the next 2 weeks after that game. And that was one of the coolest feelings ever, because we were around campus and the University of South Carolina players were just like walking around, and they always had to like see us. And we won that game. So that was a fun experience, yeah.
Okay, 2 weeks there. Wow.
Yeah.
That's good you won the game.
Yeah, it was good that we
Terrible
won the
2
game.
weeks away from home. But that's interesting. Obviously, that can come with living in Florida, where in the fall there are sometimes hurricanes, and obviously you have to get away from that if it's really, really bad. That's a downside of Florida, I guess.
Yeah, things like that could happen in Florida, but then again, they're usually prepared for it, and all the buildings are protected against it. So you should be fine as long as there aren't really any crazy hurricane. Most of us were, people were fine in Florida during Hurricane Irma, and that was a pretty big one.
Yeah. And it's interesting then, because sometimes you go on these away trips and you play maybe 2, maybe 3 universities if they're far away, but here you're stuck. How did the school cope with that, with academics? I mean, you were supposed to go to your classes and lectures, and how did you cope?
So what happened was that we brought our own academic advisor to South Carolina. So she was taking care of us, and she was making sure we were doing the study hall where we had time to study together and make sure that we did our schoolwork. So there weren't any downside with that necessarily. And also we were able to have the exams in the hotel we stayed at, because the professor adapted to it, and she could sort of have exams orally with us instead.
It's amazing how the support network, if something like that happens, then is right there. You are a student athlete, so student is first in that word, and of course you need to keep up with schoolwork in order to be able to play.
Yeah, it's fully professional. It's a fully professional environment, and you get the treatment you need to do well on the pitch, and you get the necessary help to be able to do do your best, basically. So everything is put together so you can be the best student and the best athlete at the same time, which is very good. And they put a lot of resources in it, and they also have a lot of resources to make sure you're doing your best both at school and in your studies. Yeah.
And then you ended up having a good freshman year. You actually became the top goal scorer for the team, but you only scored 2 goals, which you needed some more goals than that. The team didn't do very well. It was because Joey had just taken over, and it was the rebuilding phase, no doubt. I mean, it was, and it can take some time to build a team of players with a new coach, and so you opted for looking at other opportunities as a result of that.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
remember.
Yeah. So I sort of took advantage of me having a quite decent year, and I wanted to get a little bit of an increase in scholarship too, because I felt I kind of deserved it. So I wanted to look around and see if there were any other places that might be of my interest.
Because I remember, obviously, there's a process to changing schools, and you had a very open dialogue, and we had an open dialogue with Joey, and he was, of course, very understanding of your situation, where he was in a situation where he really wanted to give you more scholarship, but obviously with budgetary restraints, and there was just no money that he was able to give you. And because you made the decision quite late, I would say. I think you made the decision to go to or to attend Florida Atlantic in late April, and then you went over in August, which is quite late. So obviously that might have you could have gone to some other places where your scholarship was much higher. So obviously, but in the end, it turned out that it wasn't possible to meet your like financial goals or needs, and then you could have continued at Florida Atlantic, but you also could look at some other options.
Exactly, and I also wanted to experience new places while I was in the US. I thought this was like the main window where I could potentially try something new. Because as soon as you're in your school for more than 1-2 years, it's very hard to change your environment. So I wanted to get a fresh start and try something new in a cool place, basically. And New York for me was it's a city of dreams. So it was a very tempting place to go. And when I had the chance, I just had to take it. Yeah.
And that's what we'll talk about next.
Yeah.
New York City. So, new scholarship, new opportunity at Hofstra University in Long Island, New York. It was a good start for you there?
Yeah, it was a very good start. It's a very good school academically, and also the sports teams there are known to be very as like at the top in their conference at least. So for me, it was an exciting opportunity, and also the university has a very good location at Long Island in New York, so it's very easy to travel to, for example, Manhattan, where most of the tourists are going, and it really, it's a really exciting university. Yeah,
I remember they've had. I mean, it is a very well respected academic institution, highly ranked, and they also had the presidential debate at that school, which is always that's when people can hear about schools maybe back in Norway. It's not like a Harvard school where everybody would know about Harvard and the Ivy League schools in Europe and other parts, but Hofstra is right up there with being a top end school. So you got a very, very good degree from there.
Yeah, exactly. And I also like looking back at it, I can certainly tell you that the degree from Hofstra has a high reputation among employers. So especially in the US, it was very easy to get like a broader network and to talk to to basically like reach out to people that could help you get to somewhere else and get further in both the job world and the sports world, which is very interesting.
Because that is a difference, maybe, or maybe they're just better at it in the US. They're very willing to help you, the
Yeah,
Americans, if
they are.
if you are proactive and you reach out.
Exactly. Some of the reasons I think are that there's a lot more competition there. So if you are willing to put in your effort and you show them that you're willing to learn, you're willing uh, to be helpful and just you're curious about things, you will get your chance there. And they really value the experience as a student athlete because they know what they've been through basically. So so I was like I felt like I was in a high demand because in the beginning in the beginning process after I was in the like later stage of my education, I started looking at jobs in New York. I thought that would be a really tempting idea to get some work experience in New York and maybe try it out in the big world basically. Like bringing experience from a place like New York to Norway, I thought would be like the ideal case. But unfortunately, due to COVID reasons, I had to kind of shut that idea down. But it was a very like cool idea in my head, and I kind of thought that since I was able to stay in America, be proactive, join the community, and do things that was a little bit more outside the normal studying phase. I thought it would be cool to just. I thought I was ready to just do my best and just kill it in the big world. So that was one of the main reasons.
You really got the confidence after your years in the US.
Yeah, I did.
That's for sure. You came back. You came back a man. Left the boy. Came back a man.
Exactly. I grew so much in my 3 years in the United States. Yeah.
And you talk about 3 years. Normally it takes 4 years to complete your bachelor's,
Exactly.
but and obviously that was part of our process. You ended up finishing early, which to many is a good thing. I mean, some might think that 4 years it takes a long time to get your degree. Of course, you could do it quicker, but if you do it in the normal path, it's 4 years. But you did it in 3. How did you manage that?
Okay, so first of all, I brought some credits from my high school. I took kind of the upper level courses in my high school in Norway, so I were able to transfer some of the upper level courses into the electives because in the US a bachelor's degree takes 4 years, but in Norway and any other European countries it's usually 3 years, and that's because of the electives you take in America. So those electives could be, for example, social sciences or natural sciences or things that might help you to form you into like a much more complete student, but they might not be as useful if you already had them in your high school.
Yeah. And there's nothing to do with the business degree
nothing
you took.
to do.
It was just it's just credits so that you, like I said, you get competence in other areas.
Exactly. So and also the semesters in America are divided into 2 semesters, and both of them are very short. They're in maybe 3 to 4 months. So, and that makes room for a winter and a summer semester. And they also have a broader area of courses you can take. So I took advantage of that and did a couple of courses during the summer and the winter period, which really helped me to complete my degree in shorter time. And that also made me able to potentially do a master's degree in America too.
Because the rules are you're allowed to play your sport for 4 years.
Yeah.
And that's obviously typically what it takes to get your bachelor's. But you opted to in the end come home and you've obviously now started your master's degree here.
Yeah, I am sorry for that. I thought the combination of a degree in America and a master's degree in Norway would be the ideal fit for me because I knew that I would probably work and settle down in Norway. So the best idea for me was to get into an international institution here in Norway where I could take advantage of my English and continue studying and the perfect fit was BI here in Oslo.
Also another very highly reputable
Yeah.
academic school. But let's talk about the soccer side, because you came to a program that was a bit more established, good history. I mean, Richard Nuttall, your coach, he's from England. He is I would say, a legend in the game. He's been there for decades, and he's always funny, has a funny remark, and it must be fun to play under him.
Yeah, it was certainly. He's a great guy. He could be a clown, and he could be a tactical genius. He has all of it. But he's kind of a people person, and then he's got his assistant coaches that are more like tactically focused. So the combination really helped us to get some good achievements. We didn't win anything during the 2 years I went there, but we reached the final in the conference.
I think that was in your first season at Hofstra. You got to the conference tournament final.
Yeah.
And then I think you lost out on PKs in that game.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, that was heartbreaking. We lost on penalties, and the team we lost to, James Madison University, they ended up reaching the final, not the final,
For Elite 8,
Elite 8, I think, yeah.
So the quarterfinals.
The quarterfinals, yeah. And like we ended playing in maybe mid-November, and they ended playing in late December, and that was just awful. The feeling there was just awful, because they went so far, and that also made us believe that we could literally beat anyone. They beat schools that were in like the top 15 nationally. So
yeah, it is the Colonial Conference. There's a lot of good teams. So if you do well in that conference, you can typically go on and reach quite far in the national tournament, which is of course everybody wants to get in the national tournament. That's you're in the dance floor, right?
Yeah.
So, Truls, did you ever get back in your Boston days?
Yeah,
you got into nationals.
I played the national
final.
final.
Keep bragging
yeah.
about that.
So I played the national final the 22nd of December 2015. So I had to fly back home to Norway the day after, so my mom could see me for Christmas. But yeah, so I played the final in the nationals. That was pretty big. We were in New York for a week.
Because Boston is not too far away from New York.
No, but as you mentioned before, we also had an advisor with us for that week. So we were checked into a hotel, and we had one game and 1 day off, and then one game and 1 day off, and stuff like that. So we get to combine, because we had all our finals that week, but we were playing the national. So we had also an advisor with us. But that was pretty cool to be in New York and playing the nationals. It was huge, and I got the ring, and everything was great. So yeah.
So you ended up winning?
No, I ended up receiving a red card in that game for talking to the ref, and we lost 2-1. That was. We're not going to talk about that, but I ended up playing in the final, so that was cool, and receiving a red card.
So you got the ring for that, okay?
Yeah.
I guess for winning
we won
regional and
the conference
and everything.
We won everything else. Yeah, we went 18-1 that season. We lost the final.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And you then finished up, but you had some time being 30 minutes train ride away from Manhattan to check out what the Big Apple has to offer too, I imagine.
Yeah, I did. So especially during the spring, where we didn't have season, we were able to travel into Manhattan basically each weekend. Usually during the week, we were very busy with studies, and you still practice and play friendly games during the spring. So there weren't really that much time, but during the weekend, we usually went to Manhattan and maybe experience some of the more urban places that not necessarily the tourists are going to. And there are certainly some secret places there that you really get to know if you live there and you're not there for only a vacation, which is very nice.
There was quite an international team
Yeah.
at Hofstra. But I imagine there must be some New Yorkers that attend the school as well.
Yeah, it was. But they didn't really. They weren't as excited of the city as we were. So,
Obviously.
they usually just stayed at Long Island and just did their thing, basically.
Yeah, so what would you say when we talk about that you've been both in New York and in Florida? What would you say are the biggest like socially differences between being a student in Florida and being a student in New York?
It's when I was in Florida, I weren't in Miami. I was studying in a place called Boca Raton. It's a very rich area where there are a lot of maybe older people. They want to just settle down and retire there. So it wasn't as like high tempo, hectic, and you didn't get as much like impulses as you would in New York. In New York, there's a lot. It's a lot of variety. There's much more variety than there is in Florida, and you would get sort of everyone. You would get the guy who chants at everyone on the street, and you would get the people that just say hello to you, and you would get the Mexican who's angry, and you would get anyone basically. So that's sort of the cool thing about New York, and I think it's a much more exciting city than Boca Raton. But when I went to Miami a couple of times in Florida, that's also a place where you get a lot of different impulses, and it's very Latin America based, which is also cool.
Yeah, because I remember when after my year in Boston, I had to transfer, or I wanted to transfer.
Yeah.
And I went up. Well, I got an offer to visit a school in Miami, and they visited me. They showed me the school. Everything was great. It was on the beach. It was a great school, and I called my dad and I said, "You know what? I think I'm going to Miami." And my dad was like, "No, Truls, you're absolutely not going to Miami because I want you to do well in school. I want you to focus on the soccer pitch." And because I'm a big surfer, I come from a place in Norway where we're used to surfing. So he just said, "You're not going to go there because you're just going to waste your time going to Barry University in Miami." So I ended up going to Plymouth in New Hampshire instead, where there's literally nothing.
The surf is not that great.
The surf is not that great. But you could go skiing though, so I went skiing there. But yeah, I remember big differences between Boston and Miami, and Boston and Plymouth as well. Yeah.
How was it to? Because it's a very. They talk about it being a family when you're part of a team. I mean, you live together, you study maybe in the same classes. Business is quite a popular major for students to take. You play together, you travel together, and to integrate there. How you come right in, and was that a difference in Florida when you were like brand new versus the next time around when you were like better in English and probably a bit more confident?
Yeah, it was a big difference. So when I came into the squad in New York, I was more used to how people are in America, and I was used to college life and everything. So it was sort of easier to adapt. But then again, that's what's great with being a student athlete in America is that you get like immediately integrated in the group. It's completely different from just traveling to a new place, and you basically don't know anyone, and you have to make your own friends and everything. But now you just get into a group, and they take care of you. Yep. They understand that they need to take care of you socially for you to be able to play well in your sport. So it's a lot of focus on that, and that's what's great about the American environment as well, and that is that they're so friendly and open-minded. I see people here in Oslo, like how they treat the internationals aren't necessarily the same as what they do in America. A lot of the internationals I'm studying with here at BI, they complain about the Norwegian people being very to themselves, and that was one of the great attributes I gained from being abroad, that I'm now able to communicate with the internationals very well, and they feel that I understand them here in Norway, which is a huge benefit.
Yeah, it's a great advantage to have.
Yeah.
To round up your student athlete career, did you, when you look back at it, do you have any regrets, stuff you didn't do or take advantage of?
I regret not visiting the West Coast while I was in America. That is 100% one of the areas I really want to visit, but I just didn't really have the time for it. But and I also maybe I wish I probably spent more time in New York City. Maybe, yeah.
But then your GPA, your grade point average might have
Exactly,
been
yeah.
lower. So it's a trade-off there.
It's a trade-off, and luckily my grades went well.
They did. Because the next part, you graduated, cap and gown, special moment for you and your family. But then next up was to come back home and start your masters.
Yeah. So that was a decision I took primarily based off COVID. I realized that the job market here in Oslo wasn't as strong as it was pre-COVID. So I decided to just continue studying while I was in the mood for it, basically. So now I will be 23 when I graduate with a master's degree. And that's a very young age. And I have a lot of years in front of me where I can gain valuable experience. I will probably be better off with both a bachelor's and a master's degree now.
So what's the difference then, since you've been studying now 2 places?
Yeah.
And this is a completely English master's you're doing too, at a highly academic school, highly ranked. Well, kind of like Hofstra, only here. How do you feel that's been going so far?
For me, it's been going very well because it's based on you being able to formulate yourself both written and oral in English. And I've realized that I possessed a lot of the same skills as a Norwegian bachelor student, but they aren't necessarily as good at getting their point out. And that's one of the areas where I feel like I've really benefited. And in my studies, we also have a lot of you need to participate, and that's some of the grade. Usually 30 to 40% of your grade in the master's program is participation. And I'm able to reach out and just speak whatever I want to say in a good way, which really helps me.
Good. I think a lot of people you have that confidence in, especially we have students that end up, some come back to their home country and study, others do a detour and do a master's in another country, of course with English speaking programs. But that is the way the education and what they've been used to. You know, we talked about it with some other colleagues about taking a public speaking class in the bachelor's degree in the US. I think that's mandatory for every school, and that really, you might not like that class at the time, but it actually really helps you to become better at stuff that really matters.
It does.
When you're going to end up as in the business world.
Exactly. Being outspoken and just being able to reach out to people is a huge ability that you need to possess in today's world of business. And I mean, people might have the skills, but if they're not able to communicate properly and communicate properly and able to reach out to people, you don't get far. So
you need to show the employer, need to show the world that you you're smart and portray that to them. I think it's been fantastic to speak to you, Felix, and get your take. You're relatively fresh out of the system, and you've done a little different path than others. You've done it quicker. Look at you! You're still a young stud, getting ahead in life. So, what's the next plan now? after you're done with your degree? I read somewhere that on your bio at, I think, Hofstra, it said that one day you want to start your own business. Is that still the plan?
Yeah, I would like to start my own business, but I still see that it might be useful for me to gain some valuable work experience in the companies before, so I can kind of get more ideas and more like knowledge. I need because the main thing for me is that I need work experience. I've got the education, I've got a different background and things like that, but I need some work experience to really get to just understand how life works in general before I start doing something like that.
Yeah, and you need a cracking good idea and
Exactly.
a plan to do it.
Exactly.
As well.
And I need good people around me, and I need to probably just gain a bigger network as well for it to help. And that's one of the main benefits with America, that I'm now able to have a network both here in Norway and in America, which is useful.
It's very, very, very useful. I just want to say thanks, Felix, for stopping by and talking with us. There's no doubt that you have a great future ahead of you, and we're excited to follow you on that one.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.